everybody, and welcome to Ponytails Podcast, episode 119 with Adam Liebler in his house. I am coming to you from Littleton, Colorado with Adam live in person. So it's awesome. I've known Adam for many years, specifically through time spent here in Colorado. We just got done skiing. Well, I was skiing. He's a boarder. So, it's great to have Adam on. He spent 5 summers in Southwestern, now co-owns a roofing company, Liebler and LeBlanc, which he is sporting a nice shirt from. And he is a partner with EnLight.Energy, who I work with. So that's the reason why I'm up here. It's been awesome to hang out with him this past week, and we're about to dive into some really cool stories of what he's got from what he's up to now. And when was your first summer, Adam?
That was 2009.
2009. Yep. Man, that was 13 years ago.
Makes me feel old.
Yeah, it's coming up on my first summer 10-year mark, so it's pretty crazy, man. So first, we want to give a shout out to Elevate Wellness. So these guys, Zane, Seth, and Joe Ignis, they're all people who sold books this last summer, crushed it, and decided to start their own, in Zane and Seth's case, not side hustle, it's their full hustle now.
Nice.
So they do fitness coaching. So you know how it can be like a little frustrating to like go to the grocery store, not know what you have to get, you just kind of get whatever fills your belly, right? But they help break down like the nutrition plan. They have everything kind of broken down on the grocery side of things, as well as weightlifting. So
awesome.
If you have a goal to bulk up or slim down or do anything else, they meet your needs and then have a full laid out plan for you. So
I'll definitely be checking them out.
Yeah, man, it's cool because when I'm on the app and I'm like actually seeing every week that I'm hitting personal records and all that kind of stuff, it's really cool. And I can talk to Zane about form and different things in my my diet. So we love Zane and Seth. Of course, we've got Cardinal Senior Benefits. If you've been listening to our recent episodes, you know who they are. Cardinal is really, really crushing it. 7 Summer Bookman Quentin Roberts. Pedro Vega, and Nick Dale all started this whole thing. Quentin kind of jumped on, and about final expense life insurance, of course. So what they've been doing is doubling or tripling in growth over the last 4 years, right? And so pound for pound, these guys, they found out that they have the most production per agent in the industry.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, all they do is they just do the whole mail-in, no cold leads. It's all warm, where you have people who reach out and say that they're interested in talking with you about your product. So they're able to work a healthy 25 to 35 hours per week and make a 6-figure income. So we love working with these guys. They've been great to us. So if you want to reach out to the podcast, we'll get you in touch with Quentin. If you want to pick up a job in that industry, I can tell you it's a good one. If you know someone else who's like itching for a career change, we can get them set up too. So it's a $500 referral bonus if you were to refer a new agent to Cardinal Senior Benefits and they sign up with them. So we love those guys. We also love Will Metscher. So Will, he's been a pleasure to work with. He's not just the sales coach for our podcast, but also for me, myself. So my solar sales, it's been awesome to have someone get into the weeds on accountability. So what he does is, of course, he gives what we gave to like first years when we're recruiting and training first years and blowing their minds on different concepts of schedule. Gotta hold yourself accountable to certain habits and break things down into metrics and all those things that we tend to forget once we leave the book field. That's personally what I miss, is like being able to give that same impact to other people. So,
sure.
That's why working with Will is a great new option for any of you looking for a career change into something like consulting. Everyone that Will works with kicks ass, right? They're also making those 6-figure incomes and then some. He just went and hung out in Greece because he was one of their top performers in the company. So
not a bad life, huh?
Yeah, it's really cool to learn from Will. Let's get you in touch with him if you want to work with Will, whether as him as your coach or if you want to be a coach with him. It's a couple good options there. So so those are our awesome sponsors. We also have a great connection here business-wise with Adam. I have been working with Adam this past week with his new roofing company, new in quotes, right? He's been in the industry for a while. So let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about this whole Liebler and LeBlanc. I've been at it for over a year now, right? Just over?
Actually, our hard launch was on May 26th. So we are about 2 weeks away from that. So
congrats, man.
Thanks.
That's no small feat.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey. I think with my experience in Southwestern and some side hustles that became companies, I realized that ultimately I will only be happy when I'm building something for myself instead of working for somebody else.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a funny story, or I guess just random how I got into roofing. Right after Southwestern, I actually started working with Lester Crafton and John Carey and Solar. I had moved out to California and worked with them. I actually jumped ship pretty quickly. I think about 6 weeks after working with them, I moved to Arizona to work with another book guy, Adam Blazer, and a small mom and pop shop solar company. So I was out in Tucson, Arizona, slinging solar for about a year and a half. And I was actually supposed to move to Austin, Texas to work with Renew, which, was a same group of book guys. Kind of figured out that, the company they were working for in California wasn't the best setup. So they figured, we're going to start our own company. And 6 days before I was supposed to move to Austin, Texas, the CEO of the company, who's a good friend of mine, called me and said, "Hey, Adam, have you signed a lease in Austin?" And I kind of chuckled and thought, this is weird. No, I was just going to stay with, so-and-so for a week while I found my own place. Yeah. And he breathed a sigh of relief and he goes, "Oh, well, that's good. I got some bad news. Our financing company, Sun Edison, this multi-billion-dollar company, just went bankrupt. And as a result, pretty much, more than half of our pipeline just evaporated overnight. And for any company starting, that's almost impossible to bounce back from. So I've really felt for those guys. They didn't do anything wrong. It was just a bad deal of cards that they got. But it left me in a pretty precarious situation because I had already not renewed my lease. My roommates were moving out, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to figure out what I'm going to do like now. Yeah. And I happened to overhear one of my roommates, who's also a book guy, talking to one of his friends, also a book guy.
Book connections,
right? Yeah. It's that cult mentality. But I had overheard a conversation about this book guy up in Colorado having an amazing week in roofing sales, and given the situation that I was in, it's like, well, if that guy can do it, I feel pretty confident this could be something that I could do. And I've always wanted to live in Colorado.
Amazing state. I love it here.
Yeah. Quick tangent. My parents actually met while skiing on Vail Mountain. So even though I grew up in Ohio, we took a lot of ski trips, and I always knew I wanted to be somewhere near the mountains. And Denver has, an amazing ski scene, but also a great music scene. And it just has a lot to offer. So,
hey man, maybe there's love in them hills for you.
Yeah. So anyway, I flew up to Colorado the next day and followed this guy while he sold roofs. And he was out canvassing after a hailstorm. And throughout the day, I thought this isn't anything super difficult.
Not at all.
And at the end of the day, he said, "You want to approach a door?" I'm like, "Sure. I don't know what I'm doing, but why not? What's the worst that could happen?" So I knocked on one door and I actually signed a contract. Got a contract signed.
That's a good sign.
Right? That was the sign for me. The universe was like, you can do this and it'll allow you to live in Denver. Okay. The owner of the roofing company actually had expressed interest in starting a solar company as well, or at least incorporating that into his roofing company. So that was really my original intention, was to move up here and start a solar company with that first roofing company. And that never really came to fruition. The
much
owner,
easier said than done.
Yes. Yep.
From experience.
Yep. And it was a time where there was just a lot of low hanging fruit in the roofing business. So, I could have spent time with the owner building the solar division, but there was a lot of money to be made, that had an expiration date on it, more or less. So I kind of got sucked into that. And You know, it made good money, but more importantly, it allowed me to live a really cool, unique lifestyle. Much like Southwestern, it was a very seasonal. It is a very seasonal industry. Hail comes around typically May through September. So make hay when you can. Fill up your pipeline. Try to clear that pipeline. You know, build the jobs before winter, because right around December through, you know, February, March, it's pretty hard to do the physical construction. One, the crews just don't want to be out there working in the snow. Two, you know, the products won't seal correctly. You physically can't install the products correctly during the winter. Yep. So
what did they always say? It was double time, part time for full time, free time. Right?
I haven't heard that, but that's a new one.
Classic. That's old Southwestern saying. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'm surprised I haven't heard that.
Double time, part time for full time, free time.
So yeah, as a, you know, avid skier and snowboarder, that was just, I couldn't have asked for a better setup. You know, just go work my butt off and then get, you know, 2 to 3 months of more or less vacation to snowboard. So I fell in love with that. And as I, you know, spent some time in the industry, I started realizing there's a lot more to like about the job. And I always tell people it's not the most glamorous job. I don't wake up every morning and go, boy, what type of roofs am I going to look at today? But I think it's really noble to be entrusted with a home. You know, for most homeowners, that is their most valuable asset. And there's tons of horror stories about contractors doing a terrible job, you know, running off with money, you know, all these terrible things. Right. So to gain someone's trust and to actually work on their home where they live, I think is really neat. And additionally, it's providing a lot of value. There have been a number of claims that I've worked with customers where the insurance company was actively trying to screw over a homeowner. Probably the most value that we've added to a homeowner's insurance claim was actually this lady who lived out in Lamar, Colorado. It was about 4 hours from Denver, and they had a hailstorm with probably about 3-inch hail, which is, you know, very damaging. I met her. Her insurance company had already been out and given her a check. I think the check was for like $4,000. And I told her, you know, ma'am, there's probably about $50,000 in damage to your home. And she was like, whoa. Really? You know, she had windows, siding, roof, deck, everything was just shot. So if she hadn't found, or if I hadn't found her or someone like me, you know, she essentially would have lost, you know, tens of thousands of dollars in equity, probably somewhere around, you know, 20% of the value of her house. So to go to bat for her and to basically fight the insurance company and say, hey, you know, this is damaged. It needs to be paid for in this manner. This has to be done. And to get her house, you know, better than it was before the storm. That's really neat in my eyes. And that's sick. It's like just sticking up for the little guy, you know?
Yeah, it's what I haven't spent a ton of time in the roofing industry. It's adjacent to the solar industry, of course, so I've gotten a lot of exposure compared to most. And what I've come to understand about like insurance companies, man, they're making tons and tons and tons of money. In fact, they're spending some of that money into how they can convince their like clients to not make claims, to spend the money on what they're, you know, putting money into for.
Absolutely.
So you're really helping uncover, you know, what some people are just like completely blind to, and insurance companies, you know, go out of the way to make sure that, you know, they're seeming good by giving that $4,000 check.
Right.
But not
yeah, we did our job, you know, that's what they're saying. So I've definitely found a lot of things that excite me about this job. You know, back when I started, if I ran into a situation where the insurance company wasn't paying out what they should, you know, my thought process was something along the lines of like, oh man, this is going to be so much work to, you know, like fight the insurance company. Right. And now I actually get really excited. You know, I really like being able to tell the homeowner, you know, hey, we were able to get you $20,000 more to fix more stuff, and essentially get you, you know, a better looking home and protect it from, you know, weathering and aging that can happen if you don't fix stuff. So, yeah, I developed more of a passion for the industry as I worked in it. The first company I worked for was probably about 7 or 8 sales reps. And when I first started working for him, I thought the owner was a great guy. I thought he was very generous. But after about a year and a half of working with him, I started noticing some red flags, if you will.
Yeah.
He changed the comp plan without telling any of his sales reps, so our
Thanks.
commission checks just started getting smaller. It's
Huge
like,
red
what
flag.
the hell, what the heck is this? So that and some other things. I ended up, saying I don't want to work for this guy anymore.
Right.
But I met my former boss, the last guy that I worked for, actually through cryptocurrency and
Yeah. Speaking of which, you got some Bitcoin mining you're familiar with a little bit?
Yep, I've been involved with Bitcoin since 2012, 2013.
Yeah, 4 or 5 in.
Yeah, I heard about it back when pretty much only computer science engineers knew about it.
Yeah, man, dude, that's so cool because we can get back to the whole how you dipped back into
Sure.
roofing and started your own company. But I am kind of curious because
Yeah.
when I met you, it was as you were like having a Bitcoin mining business.
Yeah.
And I stayed at your place, crashed your couch.
Yep. You probably had miners littered all throughout the house.
Oh yeah, and I got to see like all this like huge setup, and you're like, this is how this actually works. You're like, unencoding or unencrypting, the blockchain and like putting things. It's so fascinating. So I don't know if you have any words like cryptocurrency right now is a little spicy topic because of a huge dip right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any insight on what's going on there?
Yeah. So as someone who's been around crypto since 2012, I have been calling for this crash since actually May of 2020. So every 4 years, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency goes through a cycle. Essentially what happens is every 4 years, it becomes exponentially harder to mine. It takes more power. You get less cryptocurrency for the amount of power that you put into the mining operation. And because of that, it actually becomes more scarce. The supply gets cut down. So simple economics tell us that, even if demand is constant, if the supply is cut in half, you're going to see a higher price. So every 4 years when this, it's called the halving, the block reward halving, when that happens, it usually spurs a parabolic bull run, and people get overextended. They start buying on margin. And when it crashes, it essentially creates a cascading effect of margin calls and liquidations within the market. So the price will boom and then bust. But what's really interesting is if you look at the bottom, completely forget the top. But if you look at the bottom price, the lowest price each year, it's always going up, right? So, people will say, wow, Bitcoin just went from $67,000 to 25, it's going to die, right? It's like, well, Bitcoin has not been 20, prior to last year, or I should say May 2020, Bitcoin had never been at $25,000. So it's a long game. If you look at just the crash over a couple months, it can definitely look intimidating and look scary, but it's not going away. There have been so many things that have happened within the industry and the market that, if it was to be killed, if it was to have failed, it would have failed a long time ago. So we've passed the point of no return. Adoption is increasing. More and more people know about it, but still, it is not. I don't consider it to be a mainstream thing yet. Sure, it's you see Bitcoin tickers on Fox Business and whatever other stock market show. But I think there's still a lot of adoption left and a lot of growth to be had. So anyway, I heard about it back in college and I thought, oh, that's a neat concept, but I was kind of a broke college kid, didn't really do much with that information.
Sure.
Hindsight's 2020. But I had actually bought my first Bitcoin back in 2013, December of 2013.
A full Bitcoin?
Yep, it was $600. So had I just held that and all the other Bitcoin that I bought, life would be a little different. But I actually day traded it right after I bought it, and at the time I was making what I thought was good money and pulling a little bit out. I was recruiting for Southwestern and not not really having a consistent income. So anything that I could use to supplement it at the time was helpful. And again, in hindsight, had I just left that money in, things would be different. But in 2017, I got introduced to the notion of mining. I had actually built a gaming PC back in high school and a couple other computers. and I have a degree in engineering, so I thought this could be a fun hobby that I might make a little bit of money off of. So I built my first cryptocurrency miner in June of 2017 and started expanding as I realized, wow, there's actually a lot of money to be made in this. And by December 2017, I think I was working on my second machine with 10 different graphics cards, a pretty decent setup. And I was spending a lot of time just talking to my friends and friends of friends about it and coaching people on how to build these things.
Right.
And it was actually my roommate at the time who said something along the lines of, with all this time you're spending in this and all the people you're helping, yeah, you should start a business.
Yeah.
I was like, really? I don't think anybody would buy this, but sure, why not? I posted an ad on Craigslist. I build crypto miners, and the next day I had a call from a guy, Chris Weatherhog, who's still a good friend of mine, and I built him a miner, and then I had some more people reach out to me, and it very organically grew from just me building these things as a hobby and small investment to to pretty much a full-time job. I was putting in 40 to 60 hours a week, sometimes even more, not just building the miners, but also trying to source parts. The computer components became incredibly scarce when the price went parabolic. Yep. I had actually been going to Micro Center to buy, my components, and they put a limit on how many people could buy because of people like me. So I would bring 3 or 4 of my friends, hand them a stack of cash, and give them a list. Say, hey, if you can find these things, buy them. So, yep. So we went from that to buying from an actual supplier. The first bulk shipment of graphics cards that I bought was 56 NVIDIA 1080s. It was something like $40,000.
Bro, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So I'd say probably about 70% of those cards were spoken for, people that wanted miners or, said, hey, I'll buy the cards. So at the time it was kind of a risk though. I was like, I don't know if I should buy this, extra amount, hopefully I can move it. And I think within 5 or 6 days it was moved. So,
man, deep into the crypto world. So
yeah,
you got to see the very beginnings of it, the rise of it, the quote unquote falls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in 2017, you were running this business. This is about when I met you, right?
Yep.
So how did that kind of take off from there back into roofing?
Yeah. So I actually I made some T-shirts. Deep Sea Crypto was the name of my company.
Nice.
And on the back it had cryptocurrency mining services, consulting, hardware sales. And I was actually at a club wearing that shirt, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder from the VIP booth. And this guy said, do you mine crypto? I said, yeah, I do. And ended up building a machine for him.
Yeah.
And he and his boyfriend ended up they were also in the roofing business. So while I'm just chit-chatting with them about crypto, they were asking, is this your full-time job? And I said, yeah, kind of, but I'm also in roofing. It's slow right now. It's the winter months. And they go, oh, yeah, we're in roofing. We've owned a business for about 8 years.
Wow.
And I said, man, it's a pretty great industry, but I really don't like how this works and yada, yada, yada. Right. And they said, well, we do it this way, and this way, so that you don't have that, and that. And I was, are you guys hiring?
Light bulb going off right there. Okay.
Yeah. So that was Enviro Roofing was the name of the company, and they were the best people, some of the best people I've ever worked for. Yeah. I went to, not only did they treat me really well as an employee, but we became really good friends. They ended up taking me to Burning Man and a bunch of other festivals and all sorts of cool stuff. So I worked with them, and that was a different setup than the first roofing company. They gave me a lot more autonomy, and almost to their fault, they taught me everything, which I had wanted to do everything, because when I was in the previous company relying on other people to do things like pull reports or write estimates, if something fell through the cracks, it was on me, but it wasn't my responsibility. It's like I'm just kind of the scapegoat. So they allowed me to do everything, and it just gave me the experience and the knowledge to start my own company. So.
And so you started, I know that you were working with them until like 2020 or so, is
Yep.
that right?
Yep.
And then 2021 is when you kind of like really, around this time last year, you were getting everything lined up.
Yeah.
Start L&L,
Yep.
Liebler and LeBlanc, man. So how did that story take off? Like, who's this Eric guy? Eric LeBlanc, who's like got half the name.
Yeah.
Was it his idea, your idea? Did you just
So a little bit of both. It's actually kind of a funny story how I met Eric. I had gone to a show with two of my friends and met some people at the show, and they said, "Yeah, come on over to our apartment afterwards. You know, we're having a little shindig." So we're over at their apartment like 2:30 in the morning. You know, drinking, playing music, hanging out, and somebody knocks on the door. And I'm standing next to the door, and I assume that this person who knocked on the door knows the people inside. So I open the door, and I'm like, "What's up? Come on in." And I found out only probably about a year ago that Eric was the guy who knocked on the door, that he actually didn't know anybody in the apartment. He had just dropped off a friend and heard the music and was like, "I'll check it out."
All right.
So
Eric, that sounds just
exactly
like
him, right? You know, he's not afraid to put himself out there in any way, shape, or form. So he came in and I introduced myself. We start chit chatting. We quickly find out that we're both in roofing, so we nerd out about that.
There you go.
And he actually sold pest control door to door during college. So we, you know,
with whom?
I forget the name of the company,
Okay, sure.
but the guy that recruited him actually sold for Southwestern for a summer or two, and then ended up going to pest control. So he was familiar with Southwestern.
That's so interesting.
So we connected very quickly, and that night I remember we had talked about, you know, roofing and working for somebody else, and we said something along the lines of, "Man, you know, the dream is like one day to not be working for somebody else, and you know, do it how you know I would want to do it." Like, yeah, you know, that sounds great. So back in, I think 2019, maybe it was 2020, yeah, it was 2019, Eric actually approached me about starting a company with some associates of his, and they were essentially bankrolling the thing. And because of that, there wasn't a whole lot of equity to be shared between Eric and I. So, you know, I told Eric, I would love to start a company with you. You know, you're one of my best friends here in Denver. You know, you've been in the industry for 10 years. You're a great salesperson. There's, you know, so many good things, but if I'm going to start a company, I can't do it for that level of equity. Right. So I know he was a little disappointed at the time, but 2020 was a tough year for everybody. It was a really tough year for me, but one of the silver linings is I made some very good investments and had the capital to start the company without any extra hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
So I told Eric, said, "Hey, you know, we got the funds to do this. Let's do it." And he was a little hesitant at first because he had a salary job. He was the production manager for a much larger roofing company. Yep. And at the time, in around May 26th, there also hadn't been a recent hailstorm. So he was kind of nervous about, you know, starting a company without a guaranteed paycheck and trying to sell when, you know, the
guaranteed business.
Right. It might have been a little bit harder to pick up the business. So he ended up jumping ship and starting to work with us sometime around July. So it took him about 2 months of, you know, really just me running the show and putting some deals in and saying like, "Look, man, you know, we can make this happen. It is possible." So he jumped ship and immediately took off, sold a bunch of deals, and yeah, we had a very successful first year in business. When I started, I said, I want to do $1 million in revenue, which is pretty tough, especially without a reputation. In the world of contracting, reputation is everything.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I said, there's so many bad apples out there, and people know that, and they know that there's so many bad experiences out there. So to approach somebody and, you know, say, if they ask, "How long have you been in business?" and say a month, that's a pretty big red flag for most people.
Of course. I don't want to be a guinea pig.
Right. But we crushed our goal. We've done over $1 million, and we're, you know, not even at our year anniversary yet. So things are going well. We recently hired a new full-time sales rep who came from the commercial roofing side of things, and much like Eric, he was on a salary position in sales, and was just kind of getting the short end of the stick. So we said, you know, look, if you did the same amount of business that you did with that other company, with us, you'd probably make about double your salary. And you can kind of see the light bulb go off. Huh, well, I know the industry, I know how to sell. So he's been with us now for about a month.
cool.
And this past week got his first deal. So that's been exciting. And then we have another full-time sales rep who joined in August. He's actually a good friend of mine and also a fellow bookman. So we are growing. Yeah, it's exciting.
Heck yeah, you are. That's awesome, man. So you've got all these things going in the right direction. You've had a successful first year of business, right? Then the challenge is how do you maintain it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were able to invest a little bit, get a nice recruit out of some investment, pulling those book network strings. That's great.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. And what's kind of like the long-term play? Do you have an idea yet in terms of
absolutely
5-10-year vision?
So I don't want to limit myself to roofing. I think being able to provide more value to homeowners and more services is really what I want to do. So when I grew up, my closest friend in grade school up through high school, his dad owned a general contracting company, building company, did very well for himself. And that's always been kind of an inspiration to me. So I would like to expand, and we are actually currently expanding into interior renovations, solar. I think the end goal is really to be the general contractor, to be able to do ground up builds, additions, basically anything when it comes to owning a home. We want to be able to help out with that.
Heck yeah, man. And speaking of homes, I know that we're kind of in the home-based, contracting and improvements and renovations, just homework, right? In a literal sense. Pat Roach of Southwestern Real Estate has been doing amazing things with the real estate industry. Southwestern is kind of like the opposite of what the story of the industry is, where 85 to 95% of all agents who get licensed wind up not even selling anything for the most part. Or at least they sell a year and then they drop out pretty quick after, right? And so their stats are the opposite, where it's like 85 to 95% of the people that they hire on actually stay with the company, and they have like a start out of like it's not an advance on commission. They actually have like a salary where you can actually work and get your feet under you, build your network, and then be the expert, the general real estate expert that connects people with roofing companies and so on and so forth. So like Meredith Gardner, who I lived with in Gainesville, she's like referring people to us as a solar company, right? EnLight.
Awesome.
So that's what we love about Southwestern Real Estate. If you want to work with Pat Roach, they're 99% drama free. That's what we love about them. They just have all the healthy aspects of the Southwestern culture. And so working with Pat, just in the podcast sense of him sponsoring us, has been a dream. I can only imagine what it's like to sell homes with the guy. So let's get you in touch with them if that's a passion for you. So thought leader, Dillon Barr by chance?
I do.
Yes, you do. That's right. You've been to some festivals with the guy,
right? We've gone skiing and hung out here in Denver when he lived here. Trying to remember when he moved back to Michigan. I want to say it was about a year or two ago.
It was about a year ago.
Yeah. But yeah, I do know him.
Yeah, Dillon's awesome. So he was one of our more like high energy early on episodes, like 2030 somewhere in there.
Sure.
Loved that episode. But what he's recently gotten himself into is Thought Leader, is a company that helps people with passions and stories and messages to deliver to land a TEDx talk.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So if you've ever wanted to just talk with people about their passions, in fact, that's what's really cool about recruiting the Southwestern, is like, what do you want to be when you're older, right? Let's help you build the skills and character. Come on, let's go.
Yep.
But with Dillon, what they do is they go and talk to warm leads. They've got the SDR role where they're able to like kind of farm these leads of people who are aware of their company. So it's like a really easy sale where they just hand them off to somebody like Dillon, who's like, okay, what are your passions? We're going to help you deliver that with excellence in front of a stage and use your authentic voice. And so they've got positions open that Dillon's hiring for that are base salary of $50,000, $70,000. Then they have the closer role that's more in like the $100,000, $130,000, $200,000 earning potential. So it's really cool that we have like all these awesome jobs that you get to plug. So if you're interested with Dillon, right, helping people in TED Talks, we'll get you going with them. So yes, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But yes, of course, Cardinal Senior Benefits, once again, they have so many productive agents that kind of the biggest thing that we get to plug is all these agents and what they're earning. So Greta Huerta is one of their like repeated top producers. She's been earning like $10,000 in like earned commission in a week the last number of weeks. Okay, sorry. All of the agents over this past week that we're going to list here averaged more than 14,000 in earning for the week. So number 1 and 2 go to non-bookmen, Lucas Holland and Michael K. They've got like 29 Southwestern alums, and so they're like got some non-book alums,
some civilians,
some civilians, right? Some muggles, if you will. Yeah. So top 3, 4, and 5 and 6 agents were all book people. So shout out to Ian Pinzado, Greta Huerta, Nathan Alberts, Travis Mickelson. Michael K is in 5 weeks in a row over 10,000 earnings. And so over the last week, they had 47 agents, and they had 27 of them gross over 5,000, 39 over 3,000. So, I mean, it's not a bad paycheck. A lot of people are talking about that much, like a $3,000 paycheck for a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, if these numbers sound appealing to you, let's get you in touch with Quentin Roberts, Pedro Vega. You'll get a $500 referral bonus if you sign up or someone you refer signs up. And then we also have a free ticket to Bizler on the line if you send someone to sign up with Cardinal Senior Benefits. So
nice.
Love working with those guys. Let's get you in touch. But dude, going back to your story, the whole like being experts in the field, right? I think about when I have this foundational experience of selling books that I get to talk about on a podcast and reminisce through. It's like we get exposed to so much. Just selling kids' books door to door, as a kid ourselves, So were you a freshman in college?
Mm-hmm.
You're at the University of Miami, Ohio.
Miami University.
Yes, pardon me. Yes. Miami University, the OG, right? The Redhawks.
We were a school before Florida was a state. So yes, the OGs.
Yes. Cool, man. So you bumped into somebody in a hallway or
honestly, I can't recall ever filling out the questionnaire, but I did at some point. Hans Schlegel was the recruiter, and I remember he called me when I was in the car with some friends and they were playing music, and I wasn't really present for the first phone call. All I heard was a summer internship where the average first year makes $8,000. You want to hear about it? Sure. So I heard about it and thought, this is kind of appealing. I think in the info session they asked, has anybody here sold anything door to door before? And I raised my hand and said, I sold Boy Scout popcorn. And I was actually the #1 rep for the Boy Scouts in my troop, sold the most popcorn. And when I told Hans that, I could see his eyes kind of light up. And he said, see, I remember him asking me too, how'd you do it? How were you the #1 sales rep? And I said, honestly, my dad just kind of made me go out there and work a lot. Yeah. I just worked more than the other Boy Scouts. And I think that's really when his eyes lit up, because awesome. If there was a person to sell books, that was the experience that they were looking for. So yeah, I was really enthusiastic about it from the first point, of hearing about it. My dad was very supportive. My mother was very skeptical about it, and it took some convincing. I think ultimately I just kind of told her, I was like, this isn't your decision, this is my decision. But the car that I owned at the time was, I believe, not in my name, because I bought it, my parents, when I was 16 or something. So they actually didn't let me take the car with me. So I walked my first summer in, gosh, what was the name of that place in North Carolina? It was it
mountainous?
No, it was in the shithole region.
Kind of like the Durham, Raleigh.
No,
that's more inland.
Yeah, it was eastern, and I remember it was the second poorest county in North Carolina.
Man, that's where they always stick the book people only, is in the poorest and second poorest counties.
Rocky Mount, that's what it was. Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Yep. So
telling of your eventual moves.
Right. There's been little seeds, been planted.
Awesome. Cool.
But yeah, and my first summer was not spectacular. I think I sold 1,200 units. I didn't have the greatest schedule. It wasn't the worst schedule, but I could see the value in what I was doing, not just for the customers, but in my own work ethic, confidence, sales ability and all that. I also just really loved the culture, getting fired up to go out there and, do something that is really tough. I've always been the type of person that goes for the challenges that
sell more popcorn to everybody, bro.
Exactly. Right. So I really like the challenge of it. And that's kind of what brought me back, that and the culture. I loved the people that I worked with, my fellow first years, the student managers, Hans, they were all amazing. And I'd immediately, not immediately, I'd say probably about halfway through the summer, thought to myself, I definitely could do this again, but I would really like to have a car.
Yeah.
So
right
yes, yep, because it was tough walking in the heat of North Carolina, the heat and humidity. But that second summer, I picked up an old Buick LeSabre for something like $1,100. And
I had a Buick LeSabre my second summer.
Yeah, it was it was a boat, it was super comfy.
Mileage.
Exactly, the worst, but I made it work. And my second summer was in Superior, Wisconsin.
North.
Yep, I recruited one guy who was my little from my fraternity.
Nice.
Yep.
Wait, which fraternity, bro?
Acacia.
Acacia.
Yeah, so
I haven't heard of that one.
Acacia is one of the 4 Greek fraternities that does not have the traditional 3 letters. Acacia is a word. It's actually also a tree. It's a tree that's known for strength and ruggedness. And a fun fact about Acacia is we were actually founded by all master Freemasons, and we have strong ritualistic ties to the Freemasons. So a lot of my fraternity brothers, when they graduated, actually went into the Freemasons. And it's something that I probably could have followed, but I was a little preoccupied with, recruiting for Southwestern. Yeah, I did exactly a different cult. Couldn't have said it better. So yeah, my second summer, I had a car. I was much more dedicated to a schedule, having, a first year there that was under me, hit Growth Award, got to go on Sizzler. That
feels good.
Man, that first Sizzler.
Especially in the first summer.
Yep.
And you work at it and back again.
Yeah. And that year we had like 18 first years or B contracts from Miami University and University of Kentucky, which was kind of our sister school, go on Sizzler. So we had a squad, and that was, that locked me in for the third summer. I was pretty much already locked in before that, but that was an amazing experience. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to come back for a third summer. My third summer, Hans actually left Miami, Ohio, and Sean Berry, who was one of the student managers, became the OL, him and Joey Franzese. He's an interesting character. But yeah, we were a little bit smaller our third summer, and it was a rougher summer. We went back to North Carolina.
You have like, this summer was amazing.
Right.
The next summer is like,
life's a roller coaster, you got your ups and your downs.
Experience tokens, gotta grab them sometime.
Absolutely. So my third summer was in Asheville, North Carolina. Beautiful area.
That's
but
in the mountains, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yep. The Smoky Mountains.
Yeah.
I want to go there so bad.
It's Denver's better, but if you're over there, it's a cool spot. But we had a couple issues with PR. There was a news station that ran, a clip about pedophiles and sexual predators going door to door to snatch up your kids. And
it's all true, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, clearly. But one of my good friends who was a B contract that summer, he was actually my roommate my second summer. He actually got assaulted by a dad, straight up punched him in the face, knocked him out cold. Wow. Again, because they just assumed that he was, stealing kids. So that was pretty bad. And I actually was unaware of these PR issues. And I just remember thinking, wow, these past couple of weeks have been really tough. Like people aren't answering the door. I'm getting so many no's. Like I've had more blue light specials, all this stuff.
PR matters.
Yep. I do remember about that summer, which was cool. One of the people that I sold to, the husband was a government contractor, worked for, I can't remember the name of it, but he had actually trained pretty much the entire police force. So whenever I got a blue light special,
big name.
Whenever I got a blue light special, which again was pretty frequent, They're like, what are you doing? And I was like, hey, you know this guy, right? And they're like, yeah. I was like, I've sold books to him. That's what I'm doing, is selling books. Like, if you want, call his family and ask.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a tough summer. We ended up moving probably 2/3 of the way through the summer. And I think by the time we moved in the summer, had just kind of kicked my teeth in. So I ended up finishing somewhere around like 2,400 units, which I want to say was about the same or actually less than what I had sold the summer before. So that kind of burned me. I also switched majors in college from business to engineering. I think I did that because I was bored with business when I was out. Essentially,
it's the other way around, going from engineering to business.
Yeah,
I don't want to study that hard.
Right? People are
What
like,
the heck,
this is
dude?
too tough. No, I was just bored. It was
Wow.
really hard for me to focus on, reading about business when I was out doing it. So
That's
I've
fair.
always,
Because it's like this isn't even that applicable.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some things that, accounting and stuff that,
Sure.
didn't get in books, but I just felt like I got more from selling books than I did in the classroom in terms of
Yeah.
business. So I had made that switch. I decided, a lot of people from the org, pretty much the org fell apart, to be honest, from Miami University. So I said, yeah, I'm not coming back. I picked up an engineering internship in Erie, Pennsylvania at a plastic injection molding facility. And it was an interesting experience, but ultimately I was pretty disappointed. I just didn't feel as challenged or as inspired as I did.
Jump out of bed, take a cold shower, do execs, and
Right.
up random strangers.
Yep. And I mean, it was nice that, I would get off work at 5 and then I could go have a beer with, the people at the plant. But ultimately I just was not fulfilled. And
it feels like that oftentimes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think I went to not sales school, GRS, kind of on the fence about it. And that's when I saw Hans again, and I hadn't seen him in quite a long time. And we caught up, and I, just kind of told him what was on my mind. Said, hey, I did this engineering internship. I'm going for a degree in engineering, but I didn't feel fulfilled doing that type of work.
Right.
So being around all, the culture at GRS, it just sucked me back in, and came back for, right. Just when I thought I was out. So came back for a fourth summer, but that was actually a half summer. I did my senior design project in Daejeon, South Korea. Yeah, that was really neat. Instead of doing, 2 semesters worth of senior design work, we were able to do 6 weeks. In South Korea at the Korean Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, which is
the beginning of the summer or end of the summer?
Towards the end. So I believe I did 5 or 6 weeks.
Wow.
Went to Korea, and then I actually came back to sell for a week or 2. Yep.
And deliver and all that.
Yep.
That's crazy. Wow.
So that was pretty interesting. One of my better book stories was actually the last week of that summer.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, so I had just flown back from Korea on Friday, like night, Saturday morning, and I was on the book field again Monday. So I was still jet lagged. I had a first year who was borrowing my car while I was gone, and I was working new turf, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And I was driving through this gravel road, through the mountains, and it started raining. And I'm like looking around for houses, and I'm like, man, there aren't even any houses out here. Like, I should probably turn around and go back. So I'm coming back out of the woods, the mountains, trying to go back to civilization. And I'm not going that fast, 25, 30 miles an hour. I take this turn, and the car does not turn. The wheels turn, just plows through the gravel. And my gold minivan, my
minivan,
200,000-mile minivan.
No wonder they thought you were stealing kids.
Yeah, right. But I went straight off the road down probably a 40 or 50-foot ravine.
Oh my.
And it was scary. I, of course, wasn't wearing a seatbelt because I was selling books and getting in and out of the car. Yep. Yeah. So I vividly remember the feeling of being airborne, but still holding onto the steering wheel, kind of down here.
Right.
And the car just flew down this ravine. I actually ended up, my head was on the passenger floorboard with my feet up in the air. I had books, littered all over me, all over the car. And the car came to a halt, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, am I okay? Yeah, I think I am. like dig myself out of this pile of books, and
you can't really get impaled by a bunch of books going through you.
Right. But yeah. I was really lucky though. It could have been bad. I opened the door and I step out into a river. I'm like, oh man, this is not good. And I look up at this ravine that I just came down. I'm like, holy shit. And I look at the side of my minivan, and the whole side is completely scraped up. And as I look at the tracks of where I came down, there's an oak tree, probably 6 foot in diameter, that I literally grazed. So had I been, a couple inches to the right, I probably would have gone through the windshield, and it would have been bad because, again, I was in the middle of nowhere. So that happened.
So this was that fourth summer, right?
Correct. Yep. Last week.
First summer was North Carolina, then Wisconsin, then North Carolina again. And then where's this fourth
This
summer?
was in Iowa.
Iowa?
Yeah, Dubuque, Iowa.
No shit. That's the next state over from where I grew up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really enjoyed Iowa. I thought it was a great place to sell.
Education conscious.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got out of the car, didn't even have cell service. So I had to hike up this muddy, hill, get on the road. And then I had to hike like 1.5 miles. I never even got cell service. Another car drove by and I waved him down. I was like, hey, I need a tow truck. So
people are nice.
Yep. Yeah, I was really fortunate. They pulled my minivan like 50 feet up this ravine, took it to the shop. Honestly, the car was mechanically it was pretty sound. The body was all messed up, but it didn't really matter. I remember when the car was in the shop, I remember thinking I should be selling books. I should go out knocking, but my heart was palpitating, and I went to the library and just sat down and just kind of tried to relax for like an hour or 2 hours when they fixed up my car. Yeah. So I sold 3 units that day, sold a set of Mufus.
Solid.
But the next 5 days, I guess, the rest of the week, I sold something like 470 or 500 units. And that was, by far my best week to date.
Hell yeah, brother.
So it's kind of funny. Tuesday was my best day ever. And then Wednesday was my best day ever. Nice. And I attribute that to just being happy to be alive. I was very, very grateful that, I was where I was. So
nothing like a good adrenaline kick in the summer where your life is on the line.
Yep.
Get you going. Damn.
So I want to win for that week. And that's probably one of the more, I've actually got my bat right here.
Let's go. Let's see that bat. So I want to win bat.
Yeah. So I've been trying to find some time to hang this up next to my gold award, which is gold seal award, which is hanging up right over my computer.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was interesting, but finished the summer strong and had a couple, options after that. I graduated that year. So was trying to figure out, do I stick with Southwestern? Do I go to a job? And just, couldn't leave the culture. So
yeah, you knew what the other side of the fence looked like. It was boring.
Yep. So exciting. Yeah, so I decided I would do the recruiting thing, and this is around the time when KJ, Lester, and a bunch of others did the whole lead thing.
Yes.
So they explained it to me, and I was like, just kind of blindly following. I'm like, hey, if you guys think it'll work, I trust you.
Yeah, right.
And I recruited with Trinity Taylor at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga.
Oh, yeah. Is that the Blue Wave? No, that's Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't remember what their mascot was, to be honest, but I really enjoyed mentoring students. I had some incredible students that I mentored, but ultimately I did not bring out anybody. Lead was a great idea in theory, just didn't really work out in practice. And we saw a lot of people who were talented recruiters do the lead thing, and production just kind of plummeted. So I did, I was committed to selling though, even though I didn't recruit anybody. So I sold in North Texas that summer, had my best summer ever.
Dallas or
North Texas. We were in Gainesville and then later by Wichita Falls.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wichita Falls, Drew Williams is from there.
Nice.
So anyway, that's cool. So you went out and were there any first years in the org?
There were a few. Trinity had a few. I want to say maybe 6 or 7, something like that.
She's always just like, I got my squad.
Yep. So she did. So, but that was neat that I got to co-OL her org. Unfortunately, I think about 2/3 of the way through that summer, Trinity's grandfather passed away, and she was really close to him. So she actually left, and it was Reed Searcy and I kind of running the show. And that was tough, first years, they knew me, but they came out because of Trinity. So to try to fill her shoes was definitely tough. But I think Reed and I were really proud with how we handled it. Everybody that had stayed to that point finished the summer, so nobody went home because Trinity went home.
Right.
People still had good summers. So yeah,
2013, right?
That's correct.
Last summer on the book field, North Texas. Do you feel like you left it all out on the field, or was there kind of like a it's a mixed bag no matter who
it's a mixed bag. I think in terms of sales, I was pretty happy with my production. I'm the type that I'm never fully happy. I'm always, I could have done a little bit better, but I did feel fulfilled that year. But I did definitely was a little sour about the recruiting. That was
the way
the way it transpired. I kind of wanted to bring a team and have people come out because of me and have success because of that. But I'm not too broken up about it. Things are going pretty well now.
Life is okay.
Yeah.
And we still love you, Lester.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Check out his episode from a few weeks ago. It's great.
So it was right after that summer that KJ and Lester approached pretty much everybody in the org about selling solar out in California.
Right.
Right after that summer, well, maybe not right after, a couple weeks after that summer, I moved out to California, and hence my start in the solar career.
Yeah, I mean, that's and then roofing, and then solar and roofing, and
some cryptocurrency sprinkled in there.
Oh yeah. You got your mains that you stick with.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. And books is just like the launching pad, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it was it really kind of defined who I am. When Hans recruited me back when I was a freshman, I was this super introverted, shy, just unconfident kid, and it changed my life. And I talk to Hans pretty frequently, and I try to tell him every opportunity I get, man. I really appreciate you bringing me into this, because I don't know where I'd be without it.
Yeah, man, it's one of those cults that it's like you don't know if your life would be better or worse without it, but you damn well know that it would not be the same.
Yep.
And it like the fondest things that I've looked back on over the last, my last summer was 2016, so the last 6 years. Every fond thing is like the friendships that get made, and the cool trips that you go on, and cool things that crazy stories from. Oh man, a dog bit me this one time. You know? So, dude, you've got a lot ahead of you. Obviously, you attribute a lot of it to this whole Southwestern thing. Do you have any standout stories that we can dip into? And while you think of that, I'm going to shout out VDisain Lee. They are the masterminds behind our website. Oscar and Oliver, they're a fun couple of book guys from Estonia. So they basically have the pedigree of some hotshot American web designer company, but for like a third of the price because it's Estonian or whatever. And so these guys have been really great to work with. I will say that what we've learned in the process is that building a website is not that easy when you want it to be like super specific and integrated to everything that you're doing. And these guys are great at what they're doing. They're making everything built out to the T. So when you check out our website, let's get you in touch with them if you want to build your own new website. We love our Estonian friends. So we also love Cardinal Senior Benefits. They have again been doing really awesome things for their industry, and so just overall in general their attitude is to kind of have all those same best features of the Southwestern culture, but with a bit more of like rubber meet road, if that makes any sense. So one of the things that people like about working with them is the flexibility, the freedom. Many companies talk about this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, they're still holding their agents captive for this, that, or the other reason. And so with Cardinal, you truly have the ability to set your work hours. They have really keen focus on a demographic. You know, it's final expense. It's nothing sexy, right? Selling funeral insurance, but
I can relate.
yeah, right. Selling roofs, selling solar. I mean, none of these things are super sexy. The really cool thing is they actually send mailers out and get people who have the interest in, you know, getting a life insurance policy to protect their family from funeral costs. And so they actually have a really easy sales cycle. It's one of the simplest things when people tell you, I want what you have, and then you just show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, 25, 35 hours a week in the field gets you, in a lot of people's cases, you know, 10,000, you know, net income in a week. And so there's all these top producers in the company that are super inspiring. Check out what they have to bring to our Derby meetings on Fridays, every other Friday. But we love Cardinal Senior Benefits. And we also just kind of talk about our connection here with EnLight.Energy. That's the reason why I flew out here to work with Adam this week is solar. What we're doing at EnLight.Energy is just basically changing this. It's like the Wild West solar because there's a lot of money, just like with roofing, just like with real estate. You know, all these different lucrative industries have, you know, a lot of people that just kind of flood into the industry and kind of sour the reputation a little bit, especially on the sales side of things. And so what we're doing is we're, you know, leading with full-on truth and ethics, and you know, we've gone back to customers that, you know, we've even unintentionally told wrong things to just to clear things up. We're way past that now, and so right now we're actually building on and hiring a ton of new people, right? So this partnership has been great to fly out here and see how you do business and see how we can help your clients out. That's the cool thing about EnLight is we believe in win-wins. So if you want to work with us, get in touch with me or with Ponytails, and we'll get you an idea of what it could look like. It's not for everybody. Market conditions are kind of important. We had someone look into working with us last year, and Georgia is not the best state for solar just because of state policies. But that being said, another six-figure job. It's good stuff. Cool. You know, great. And grateful for you, Adam, to partner up with us.
Yeah, grateful for you as well. It's a very synergistic combination, and it makes sense.
It just makes sense, right? Just like all these crazy, like, here's what I hear when you're describing every summer of you going back to sell books again. There's like, they got me again, you know. It's just like, well, I had nothing else better that I could, you know, put myself into it. And at the time, it's quite true, right? But I also hear like it just makes sense on a deep core level to the people that go and do these multiple summers. It's like, yeah, it just makes sense for me to go and grind my face off for 80 hours a week minimum, right? Unless you're off schedule, which, you know, if you're not, you're putting in 85 hours a week, you know, and as a manager, you're putting in 100 because you're helping all these other kids sell 80 hours a week, and they're not even taking breaks, and it's just like, go, go, go. So it appeals to a certain type of person, and it creates these certain types of experiences. And for you, what are some of those experiences that kept you going in the middle of all that? Like whether it's a pony from your first summer, your last summer, what are some of the standout stories that kind of make it like, man, even though it was hard, I have this.
Wow. Well, one story that sticks out, it was actually my last week of my last summer. But it's entertaining, and also I think it demonstrates, you know, kind of the mentality of a book person. So I had,
Texas, right?
Yep. Yeah. And yep. In Texas, I think I had just started new turf the week before. Didn't have a whole lot of names, but I wanted to finish strong. One of the first doors I had knocked on in that neighborhood, this lady was like, I'm a teacher, probably not interested, you know, but maybe if you come back at a better time. So I'd always wanted to come back to her, and I was having a pretty good week. I was shooting for President's Club, and this was like I don't know, Saturday. I'd met this lady on a Monday. It's in the evening. I approached this lady on a farm, sat down with her, sold her. I actually had a tablet. We were selling on tablets that summer, and I just handed the tablet to her to, you know, put in her information and stuff. And I see this puppy. I think it was a Great Dane or Mastiff puppy coming running across. Yeah, like an actual puppy, like a big puppy, but a puppy come running from, you know, like across the field. And I'm like, oh, that's gonna be awesome. I get to play with this puppy, right? So the ladies, you know, mom is not paying attention, you know, doing the tablet sale, and this dog comes running up and just jumps on my lap, and Immediately, I almost vomit. The smell is so bad. I stand up like the dog, falls off, and I'm like, oh God. And I look down, and there are little bits of flesh on my shirt, like decaying flesh. And the mom looks up, and she's like, oh, I am so sorry. That dog has been rolling in a dead cow that's been out there for a week.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. So normally I keep an extra pair of clothes in my car for instances like this, or for when a dog or cat pees on you, which has happened to me before. Yeah. I don't remember why, but I did not have another pair of clothes, and I was so close to hitting President's Club. It's like 8 o'clock, 8:30. I was like, I've got to do it. I've got to approach somebody. I am not going to give up. So one of the only people I had left was that lady who I had met on a Monday, who was like, I'm a teacher. I probably won't want it, but maybe I'll look at it. So I knock on her door at like 8:30 on a Saturday night, and I get, a couple words into my approach, and she goes, oh my God, what is that stench? And I explained to her, I was like, I was just over at, Mrs. Jones's place, and her dog was rolling in a dead cow, and then, the dead cow got all over me, more or less. Yeah. And she kind of laughs, and she's like, come on in. Like, let me get you a fresh pair of clothes. Did Mrs. Jones buy this, by the way? And I was like, yep. She's like, okay. Nice. And she ended up buying, and, got my mark, and I felt really good about the way that I finished that summer, and ultimately my book selling career.
Hell yeah. So that was your last customer ever?
I think so.
Dude, what a stinky story.
Right?
That's so gross, but hilarious, dude. It's only in rural turf, right? That you can go get dead cow guts on you, show up to the next door, and right? Yeah, oh, sure.
We got you a pair of clothes,
Gosh, that's crazy. Do you have any other stories that meet that? Because that's a pretty legendary story, right?
I think that's probably the best one. I have a couple gun stories. I'll share one because I'm a huge gun nut myself. There you go. This was either Wichita Falls or Gainesville that last summer. New area, didn't have a whole lot of pre-approach, knocked on this big house, kind of far back from the road. Guy answers the door, and I can tell he's got something behind his back, and I assume it's a gun. It was a clean-cut guy, nice house. I'm not thinking this guy is going to murder me. So I just give him my approach, go for the bag, and he's like, sure, come on in. We sit down at the table, plops down the 45 caliber pistol, and I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, I was like, is that a 1911? And he was like, good eye. So I start talking to him about guns, and he goes, yeah, I'm actually the retired SWAT captain for Dallas. So, I've got a lot of enemies out there. I think he said something like, inside the force and outside the force. So you can never be too careful. But it's funny because I could tell this guy was, just trying to intimidate me. And I was just like, cool, what you got there? And he takes me out to his garage where he has, a wall is an understatement. But he's got like a wing of rifles, pistols, shotguns, antiques. And we talked about guns for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes before I was like, hey man, like he didn't even have kids. He actually told me, he was like, I just wanted to see if you were legit, and see what you were doing. But yeah, that was really cool.
Use his name, be like, I was just talking to the old SWAT director.
I'm sure I did. Yeah.
Right, that's funny.
Yep.
That's crazy, dude. Any other gun stories like that?
Yeah, my third summer, I had a first year who quit, so I had to deliver for him, and I had never done that before, deliver for another dealer, and we got go through the delivery school, and the OLs says you got to deliver all of your first year's books, even if they tell you not to. Like, you always make an attempt. So I'm talking to my first year who left, and saying, hey, I'm going to deliver your books. And he goes, okay, don't go to this house. I was like, why? And he's like, just trust me, just don't go there. I was like, okay. Of course. What did I do?
You gotta go to the house.
Yep. So
I'm curious.
Yep.
Like, why? Right?
So I pull up, and it's this trailer that is just falling apart. There's shit everywhere.
Wonderful start.
And this guy's sitting out there in a plastic lawn chair. So I pull up, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And like reach into the car to grab the books, come out, and he's like got a pistol in his hand. He's like, get the fuck off my property. And I was like, I got the books you ordered. And he points it at me, and I was like, never mind.
Yeah, don't go to that house. That's so funny. Gosh. the one time it actually makes sense to not go to that house, right?
Yep.
Gosh.
I do have one more gun story. I guess I had quite a few gun
Dude,
stories,
so many,
but
well, I don't have a ton of gun stories selling in New England.
yeah.
But,
Yeah, this one I think was in Wisconsin, but I knocked on
Oh.
a door and this guy was cleaning his gun and rural country. He just opens the door and he's got his gun in his hand. And this was my second summer. I wasn't as, comfortable with, gun stories, so to say. So I'm like, hey, I'm Adam. Like stop and look at the gun. And he's like, oh, sorry, I was just cleaning this. Like, what do you got going on? And they ended up buying, so that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, my only gun story in 4 summers. It happened my 4th summer in Vermont. And my first year, roommate who I was having follow me that day, I was like, okay, go take this. Knocks on the door, and then just the guy silently, he's just like, go, leave.
Roger that.
He's just like, he's freaking out. Like, dude, he's just protecting his property. Let's get out of here.
Yep.
So it's funny stuff, man. I actually fired my first weapons, not with you. Shortly, I fired it with my current roommate Bryce.
Okay.
And then shortly thereafter, I fired guns with you. And
yeah, that was a fun time.
It is a fun time. So ammunitions are what helped us make this country.
Yep.
So we appreciate those. But dude, unless you have any outstanding stories, I know that I kind of like got you with your first big one right there. This is my last summer, my last door.
Yeah, I'm sure I have some stories, but
Okay.
like you said, it's been 13 years, and if you if you don't use it, you lose it. So there's so much that happened that I'd kind of have to dig through the memory bank for. But all in all, like I said, it was an amazing experience. The people within Southwestern are truly like a fraternity of entrepreneurs and successful people. So I'm extremely grateful for that. I've met so many people and developed so many close friendships through Southwestern. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
Cheers to that, man.
Yep.
Well, we're working on something. Got something in the works to have a party here in Denver soon, sponsored by somebody sponsoring the podcast. So not by us, but someone else, right? But we're gonna be serving beer. We'll be throwing out some details as those things get closer in the next few months. It'll be 2 months from now in July, but I'll be back.
Heck yeah!
Hang out with you, brother.
Look forward to it.
And for any of you listening that want to come hang out with us, we've got some other spots beyond just Denver, and we're looking at Texas, Nashville, and all these other places just to pull out the masses, like from the woodworks. There's people in every city who knocked on a door and with a green book bag, right?
Yep.
So we're having fun with it. Also coming to Bisler, the spiel, right? Let's get you to Mexico. Southwestern Travel is now helping us out with that. We can book you, up into August before we had a cutoff of May 1st, which was a little hard. But we love Maddie Whalen. Shout out to her. She just had her episode. She details all the ways we can get you to Mexico. It'll be a grand old time, August 15th through the 19th. And let's have some fun connecting, throwing back memories, throwing back beers, all that good stuff. But this has been Nick Taverdi with Adam Liebler.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my friend. This has been episode 119 of the Ponytails Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe, follow, all those good things. We'll see you next time.